Your life experience, good or bad, is a gift when you share it with others. At Taxi Chronicles, we allow real riders with real stories to share their gift. So hopefully this episode will intrigue, enhance or inspire you. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
I'm a Lloyd's insurance broker. Very corporate and boring.
It's never boring.
Exactly.
You do it, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's not going to be boring. It's not going to be boring. Okay, how do you find London? I know you've been here 8 years. How do you find it?
I love it. I actually moved, I'm from California, but I moved here from New York. So I spent about a decade in Los Angeles and then 5 years in New York. And so now I've been in London for 8. It's my third big city. And it's wonderful. It holds up. It's its own animal. I obviously could lament about the weather. Mm-hmm. That's difficult, but I really like it. I like working here. And this is a cool city to do insurance.
Okay.
You know, it's a big business in London, so it's a good place to do it.
How does the insurance industry, I assume you was in the insurance business in LA and New York.
Yes.
How does it compare?
Well, typically there's kind of this myth. Well, it's not really a myth. I mean, it's true. Lloyd's of London, it's kind of the central hub of the global insurance market. So it is where you go when you have something that you cannot find insurance for anywhere else. So the most difficult, complex things, CBD, like you had a guest recently that was talking about a CBD business, that comes into London a lot. Very new, complex businesses tend to come into the market here. So the individual accounts that I work on in London are far more interesting. And so it is more fun the way you transact business.
The culture, our culture and our cultural mindset when it comes to insurance, business, how does that differ to where you've come from?
It's really old-fashioned in London. That's difficult. It's still very, pale male still. Very, old white men. It's getting better, and how it's getting better is they're hiring more women, they're hiring more people of color, they're hiring younger people from different backgrounds. It's getting better, but it has a long way to go. There's been some quite controversial articles written in the last 2 years about how old-fashioned the insurance culture is in London, and it's been very critical of it. So in the last few years it's gotten better, but it's got a long way to go.
I suppose if the more diverse something, the more you understand the mindset of a wider audience.
Yeah, and the better talent you get. Like there's just so many people in London who are hired because they're somebody's son or someone's nephew, and so it's very nepotistic, and you're not getting the best talent you can. And the more diverse the industry is, and the more different backgrounds you hire people from, you actually get the most talented people instead of just the people who went to the right boarding school.
Okay. How have you found the nightlife? I know LA's got Hollywood, haven't you?
Yeah.
Hollywood and all of that. How's it been for you in London?
It's good. It's hard. It's more spread. Actually, London's more like LA than it is like New York. It's really spread out. And it's different, chunks of it that you go to. So I do find that it's easy with work because everything will be centered around where that industry is, and then you go home. But if you see friends in London, everything takes an hour to get to. And so it's lovely, but it's difficult at 3 a.m. to get an Uber. It's difficult to get a night bus. It takes some time. So you find more often than not, you just don't go out. But also, when I first moved to London, I turned 30.
Okay.
So I stopped going out as much. So I can't tell if the city is not as lively or if I am just not as lively. I don't know.
You look young.
Thank you. I have a very good
shout out your age. And I'm not hitting you on your wife. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't think it's okay. All right, fair enough. So, to the husband, you've been to LA, I suppose.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
To New York. How does it compare on the reverse?
I mean, they're great cities. LA, I mean, it's just the same weather every single day, just hot. It's definitely.
It was July. It was July.
It's like that all the time, and I mean, you just can't.
Look at the wife. It's that. You're getting told off here, man.
The biggest difference is LA, you just have to have a car. You can't you can live in London without a car easily. LA, you have to have a car. That's it.
Yeah.
New York, New York, you probably don't want a car. A car's gonna be a hindrance to you in New York as well.
Okay, but their subways when I was in New York, it took ages.
Yeah, it feels. I don't know if it's because I just get lost all the time on it, but it feels harder to navigate than the UK subway. But I think that's just me being used to London.
No, it's yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was if you're in Manhattan, it's pretty easy to. But yeah, I mean, once you get outside of it, it's tricky. I've gotten lost in Brooklyn many times.
Okay. Question for both of you. What can London learn from New York and LA, and what can LA learn from London, and vice versa from New York?
Well, easy. I mean, LA could learn to make public transport work for them. I think their excuse has always been that we're too spread out or whatever, but actually London is more spread out than Los Angeles. And you have this, I mean, obviously it's very, very old, but you have this wonderful tube system that would completely mitigate all this issue with traffic in Los Angeles. But you can't just put that in Los Angeles. You know, you're digging through tar pits and it's an earthquake zone. Like, it's very difficult. But the biggest problem is they're never going to solve their traffic problem. I also think that both cities could learn from the social safety net that the UK has, because as you probably heard, the homeless problem in both of those cities is exploding.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not necessarily in London. Doesn't mean it's not a problem, but when you go to LA now, the streets are lined with tents.
Yeah,
and it's really bad. It's really, really bad.
I saw a documentary where they were saying there's one state in America has 1 million people in tents.
Oh my gosh, it's probably California.
What? Really? Okay.
And there's something like 120,000 in Los Angeles alone.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people, man. It's really dangerous if you think about it.
Yes.
It's really dangerous for women, children, the vulnerable men as well.
Yeah.
Everything. Okay. So, what's the other way around? What can London learn from?
Weather?
Bodegas from New York City.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So.
Mexican food from Los Angeles, bodegas from which
New
you
York.
kind of.
Not Mexican food here though.
Oh, you shit Mexican.
Yeah,
food.
not enough.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not good enough. Real Mexican. Which,
Remember, they're far, aren't they? They're on the other side. It's like they've only just come here in the last 20 years. Because 20 years back, there's no Mexicans there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's okay. There's some, but it's dressed up to be suitable for palate here. Like, you need like actual. And the thing is, actually, New York could learn this from LA too. You need real Mexican food.
Okay.
Like somebody's grandmother's recipe or something. That's the first thing I do when I get back to California.
So, would you say Mexican food is the most common dish eaten in California?
In Los Angeles, it's probably it's twofold. It's either Mexican food or just really healthy, you know, because California has like wonderful produce, because the weather's so nice, wonderful avocados. So it's a very good place. It's a good place to be a vegan or a vegetarian. Alternatively, it's a great place to get greasy Mexican food. It's both. It's awesome.
Okay. You're not part Mexican, are you?
No, I'm not, but I should. I should be their spokesperson. I'm a big fan of their cuisine.
Okay. So, excuse me. Back to the husband. We've got a couple of minutes left. What do you think we can learn
From both cities? Yeah. So bodegas. I don't know if you've come across them in New York, but it's like your local corner shop, except they've got a full deli. You can get food there anytime you want.
Coffee in the morning.
Yeah, coffee, everything.
Okay.
And they're just all over the place in New York City.
Oh, because it's more of a 24-hour city.
Yeah.
Being a 24-hour city, London can learn from New York. I was very.
London's 24 hours?
No, it's not. They can learn that from when I moved here, I had to get used to the fact that things closed so early.
I think the only place, there are certain parts of London which are 24 hours.
Yeah, but
That's like your Brixton, Camden,
Shoreditch, yes.
Shoreditch now. It never used to
No.
be quite the thing, but it's now. But other places, the city opposite, yeah, they definitely shut down. Being a taxi driver, I see everything.
yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been a great interview with you. We started off with poker, and now we've talked about comparisons of great Western cities. My last question to you two is, what's the impact you want to have on the world?
Ooh.
You can't ask like that. I'm gonna give you a soundbite.
You can.
I want to make the world a better place by selling better insurance.
I want to make the world a better place by selling better pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to finish on that.
Yeah,
note.
it was the best I can give you off the cuff.
Okay, well, it could have been something more from you as a person, but if insurance is the way you're going to go.
Well, we just had a baby 3.5 weeks ago.
Okay,
So, I mean, right now, my focus is making sure that he has a good life.
They're going to raise him to be a world leader.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is with Boris's standard, he hasn't got.
I mean, he already outqualifies Boris. So.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
And we wish you well.
We hope you liked that Taxi Chronicles interview. Don't forget to share and subscribe to get the latest episode. Ever considered investing in the continent with the fastest growing economies and population on Earth? The same continent that holds 30% of the world's known natural resources. Listen to our sister podcast, Africa Investor Stories, where you hear real investors with real stories from around the world share their experience of investing in Africa. We post Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. British Standard Time.